The president obviously wants to see the peace process play out, and the Iranians would be best to sign a good deal with the United States of America because the president has proven he's unafraid to use the might of our military. If Iran chooses to be a bad actor, they'll prove themselves to be the pariah of the Middle East. They've totally alienated themselves from their Gulf and Arab partners in the region, and the United States of America has the best and strongest military in the world. The president retains the right to use it.
All right, Caroline Levitt from Washington National Mall a bit earlier today responding to the tit for tat between the U.S. and Iran. Here is what has happened essentially over the past 4 or 5 days. It was on Thursday of last week, all right, the 25th of June, when an Iranian drone hit a vessel that was trying to make its way along what has now become the Omani Pass. It's a way of saying that this is the international accepted route for vessels that go through the Strait of Hormuz. But again, what Iran wants is something very different. Iran wants all these vessels to come up and come through their islands so they can charge them a toll at their discretion. So that was last Thursday. Then you get into Saturday and Sunday, and the U.S. took action yet again along these targets on the Strait of Hormuz that they believe are responsible for the drones that were headed toward those vessels. They apparently fired at least 4. 3 were knocked from the sky, but 1 did make a contact with a vessel. The Iranians responded in part. They hit assets in Kuwait and Bahrain, among others, and that is where we are right now. The president saying on Truth Social 2 hours ago, peace talks are going to resume in Doha tomorrow. What about all that? Brent Sadler, Heritage Foundation Center for National Security and a Navy captain. Sir, good morning to you. You say a routine is starting to emerge in negotiations. Is this a good routine, a bad routine, or how do we score it right now?
It's not a good routine, sadly. It's one the Iranians have basically found an equation where they can kind of string us along now with have a few provocative attacks, then the U.S. responds, and before the pain starts to register in a real meaningful way on the Iranians, they quickly relent and try to get back to negotiations and a pause. I think the only way now to break out of this cycle is to continue the strikes, target again anything that's a threat, whether or not it's actively targeting or launching drones or missiles against shipping. Then you basically treat it as hostile and attack it. At the same time, doing the negotiations in Doha and Europe to keep moving forward, because that'll empower the political leadership that seems willing to deal with President Trump and the administration, and it continues to weaken the hand of the IRGC. But the cycle we're in right now, it's not sustainable.
Okay, so let's catch viewers up on what was happening over the weekend. Here's Ambassador Mike Waltz from the UN talking about Iran with a decision to make. Watch here.
Iran has a choice to make. It's going to be a responsible nation, or it can continue down this path to absolute ruin. And don't think for a second that President Trump isn't going to leave every option on the table to achieve not just our aim, the entire world's aim, that Iran never has a nuke.
In addition to that, I take your comments to heart. I want to ask you specifically on a follow-up just in a second here. Wall Street Journal editorial board, Iran is winning the Battle of Hormuz. In the bigger strategic picture, the regime is leaving the president a choice. Surrender Hormuz to Iranian terror or fight for it like he always should have once he started the war and reopened the strait by force. You've got this other factor at play here, and that's in Lebanon with regard to Hezbollah. And you say if Hezbollah acts out on Israel, we should view that as a direct order from the IRGC out of Iran. Do you believe we see it that way? And if so, what then?
Well, I mean, the Iranians have tried very hard to conflate the peace and the negotiations in Beirut to disarm Hezbollah with the peace deal that's being tried to work between the United States and Iran. So obviously, if there's an attack anywhere else, I would include the Houthis and proxies in Iraq, that needs to be tied back, and the leadership in Tehran needs to be held accountable for those attacks. So the door swings in both ways on this. One is the Iranians saying we're going to renew the hostile acts if you don't end the fighting in Lebanon. Likewise, if they don't stop arming these groups, encouraging them to make attacks, then we'll hold the Iranians accountable for it as well. But again, it's all about what's the strategic end and being very focused and disciplined, and that is continuing to weaken the political control or influence of the IRGC in Tehran and enabling the political leadership that's favorable to American
And maybe
interests.
that's happening. Let me squeeze in this last point. You say increase sanctions. Right now, we're hearing about billions of dollars that may go back into Iranian coffers. But strike the roads and the rail connections in Iran. That would hurt their economy even more. Quick answer on that.
Well, clearly they're getting weapons and other trade that's going across the border to the north and also across into Pakistan, Afghanistan. On the Iranian side, by complicating that trade, it adds on to the sanctions that are really biting this regime. So it's just another way to turn up the heat, and that's to take out the black market trade that's going on right now across the border.
Brent Sadler, thanks for coming on. We'll see what comes of it in the next 24 hours.